Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I'm not sure if you can see me. Hopefully you can hear me at least. We'll wait a few more minutes as folks are trickling in. I see the number growing by the second. That's great. So happy to have you all here. So we'll just wait a few more minutes and then we'll kick this off. Good morning. If you're just joining us, I just announced that we'll wait another minute or two for folks to trickle in. Now everyone's busy these days, so we'll just give a few more minutes and then we'll get started. All right, I think we're going to kick things off, and if folks join a little late, that's just fine. Thank you all so much for joining today. I know it's been an interesting week, a challenging week, an exhausting and emotional week, and perhaps the last thing you wanted to do was spend more time on a webinar or on your screen, but I really appreciate you being here. I think this is kind of what entrepreneurs do, right? You know, we show up, we persevere, and we do what we can to help our businesses succeed. So that's why you're all here. That's why I'm here today. So really, really excited to kind of kick this off. Let's see, quick introduction. Now, why isn't my slide advancing? There we go. My name is Alexis Gallivan. There's about 14,000 people employed by eBay, but I think I have one of the best jobs in the entire company. And that is that I get to work with small businesses like yours, trying to introduce them to all the benefits and opportunities that eBay offers. And once we get them onto our platform and joining us, I do lots and lots of different things to kind of help you succeed. So we've got various training programs, outreach programs, engagement programs, all aimed to help you really kind of get your sea legs, so to speak, on eBay and really grow with us. I should also mention that I'm also a small business owner, and I have been since 2007. So this eBay job is not just how I earn a living, but it's something that's deeply, deeply personal to me. I am with all of you in the trenches. I have also had sleepless nights these last few months wondering how we're gonna survive, how we're gonna kind of pay our employees. We got rejected for the loan the first time and then got it the second time. So I've been on that roller coaster. So I am with you. And it's because of that intimate understanding and appreciation that I came to work for eBay, because I recognize that eBay is really, truly the world's biggest main street. And since day one, we have existed to support small businesses. And so that's what I'm here to do today. And so as part of that kind of village that we've created both on our platform and kind of our larger community, we engage with a number of organizations around the country, around the world actually, that all do their part to support small businesses in their communities. Many of you are actually here today because you heard of this webinar through one of our foundation grantees. The eBay Foundation funds organizations around the world that all support entrepreneurs in various ways. And so probably you heard about this webinar through one of those recipients of the grant. So excited to have you guys with us. And another partner that I'm very, very excited to share news about is called Main Street America. And they are actually here with us today. And I'm going to get them, pass the mic over to them to kind of share a little bit about what they do and how it relates to this topic today. And then beyond that, we're going to talk to you a little bit about what eBay is. Hopefully you've heard of it, but kind of get you to understand a little bit how we operate, especially when it comes to small businesses. I want to talk about our commitment to small businesses and all that we do to help you succeed. Talk a little bit about our COVID-19 response, which includes our up and running program, which I'm really excited to share news about. And then finally, kind of a call to action, explaining how you can join us, how you can get on board, and then of course, opening the floor to questions. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic, so to speak, over to Patrice Fry. Patrice, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. I should have confirmed that.
You did. Thank you. Yeah, no, that's
Very
great.
good.
Yeah,
so I'll pass it off to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Alexis. Really excited to be with you and excited to be partnering with eBay. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Main Street America Network just very quickly, and then share a bit about why we're excited to be partnering specifically as it relates to getting small businesses online. So we at Main Street America, we have a nationwide network of 1,200 communities all across the country that are dedicated to supporting the work of small businesses like you, and of creating these organizations are dedicated to creating a business environment that is as supportive of entrepreneurs, of small businesses as is possible. And so it is in that spirit that we are joining you today. And Alexis, if we can advance the slide, I don't think I'm able to. There we go. To the next one. Thanks. As I said, we, nationwide network of 1,200 communities, urge you to check online at mainstreet.org to see if there's a Main Street in your community, or maybe you're already joining because you're part of a Main Street. But these are organizations that are dedicated to creating places that are clean and safe. They're dedicated to connecting small businesses to, various financing options you might need, or technical services. In the current environment, they're dedicated to helping negotiate, negotiate with the city to make sure that, the business environment is as favorable as possible, or perhaps even helping negotiate with landlords in terms of rent forgiveness and all that sort of thing in the current environment. These are really local champions for everything that you're trying to do as a small business. And if we can advance to the next slide. Our organization has really pivoted in the current environment, as you might expect, to be fully engaged in supporting businesses and our Main Street communities in really surviving the current environment and the current challenge related to COVID-19. One of the first things we did is put out a survey trying to understand the impacts of COVID-19 to small businesses. And if you're interested in seeing that, that's available at mainstreet.org /mainstreetforward. It was a survey conducted in late March. We talked to 6,000 small businesses. About 91% of respondents had fewer than 20 employees. So these are truly small businesses. I suspect they mirror many of the businesses that you have. And we found that 2/3 of small businesses have no online presence whatsoever. And that is a really troubling figure to us, because we know that the return to normal is going to be a slow and arduous one, meaning that it's unlikely that consumers are going to resume their pre-COVID behavior anytime soon. And so we know that selling online for Main Street businesses is absolutely an essential lifeline in the coming months and potentially years. And that is part of the reason that we are so excited to be partnering with eBay today, and to be able to share with our community the work they're doing to make getting up and running on eBay as affordable and easy to small businesses as possible. And if we can go to the next slide, I'm just going to close out by sharing a resource page we have. Again, if you go to mainstreet.org or Google Main Street Forward, this will pop up. This offers a range of resources that may be helpful to your community as you're thinking about how to respond to the current crises. It certainly can help you in terms of figuring out how to start a Main Street program in your community if you're interested in doing so. But Alexis, really thank you for the opportunity to join you today, to make this available to our network. And you can see my contact information there if you're interested in getting in touch. Thanks so much. Oh, Alexis, I think you're on mute.
I am. Oh my goodness, that's the classic move, right? Sorry about that. So thank you so much, Patrice. I really appreciate that information. I appreciate so much the work that you guys do day in and day out. And thank you for joining us today. I know you're a very busy woman. So, all right, without further ado, let's go. Quick little housekeeping thing. I just wanted to mention that, like I said earlier, we will be taking questions. You should be able to find the Q&A icon on your menu. It could be the top of your screen or the bottom of your screen. It kind of depends on what device you may be joining us from today, but hopefully you can identify that pretty easily. You can certainly ask questions throughout the session today, but I won't be actually getting to them until the very end. So don't be shy. Let us know what's on your minds. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about what eBay is today, because for those of you who are familiar with eBay, you may have a slightly outdated notion. We started off as one thing 25 years ago and have really evolved since then. We still kind of maintain kind of the heart and soul of where we began, but we really do so much more. So a little bit of kind of eBay history. We were founded 25 years ago. Actually, this is our 25th birthday, so it's a really special year for us. And we were founded by an immigrant who looked around and saw this new crazy thing called the internet and saw in it an opportunity to connect people and to create this entirely new, inclusive, open, democratic form of commerce. And in doing so, he essentially invented e-commerce, which is pretty visionary, right? Pretty incredible. And so we are so proud to have that legacy. And that's something that kind of really has maintained we've maintained as our North Star, even 25 years later today. We exist essentially to create opportunity for people. Pierre, our founder, said that people are fundamentally, essentially, basically good. If you give them the tools to connect and to do good things for themselves, for their families, their communities, they will do so. So eBay was really created as an effort to make all of that possible. I'm not going to go into all the details of how the actual marketplace works. It may seem kind of overwhelming. I'm not sure of you who already is actually engaging in e-commerce, who is actually this is new for. But I just do want to point out that through all the steps of kind of the transaction process, we have a number of tools and resources to help you kind of along the way. So whether it's you're trying to figure out how to price your item because you don't know really where to begin with that, or you don't know how to ship internationally, or you don't know how to calculate your shipping costs, you don't need to worry about any of that. We have tools built into kind of the listing flow, the listing kind of platform to help you with all of those steps. So eBay today, what does it look like in terms of the numbers? Well, as of the first quarter of this year, we did over $21 billion in GMV. I'll explain what that means in just the first quarter of this year alone. So GMV is essentially the total amount of the merchandise that was sold just in that quarter. So you can see that's pretty significant. We have over 170 million buyers, active buyers around the world. So that they're the ones that are kind of making that GMV possible. Over 1 billion listings. So there's something for everyone, as my mom would say, a lid for every pot. Whether you're looking for a Mercedes or vintage Air Jordans or a brand new iPhone or some really cool vintage clothes, there's something for everybody on eBay, both as buyers and as sellers. And the last point is really important because a lot of people think of eBay in how it originally existed, which was this kind of like auction style marketplace. We absolutely do still have the auction option available to our sellers, and that works really well for those really kind of vintage, one-of-a-kind, very kind of high value, high profile items. But 79% of items sold right now are sold, they're number one, they're new, and they're sold via buy it now. So the auction is still there, but you don't have to choose that kind of listing method if that's not appropriate for your item. Quick little slide just to kind of show you the velocity of the sales on our marketplace. A watch is purchased every 5 seconds. A smartphone is purchased every 5 seconds. A tool is purchased every 3 seconds. So you can imagine that kind of sales. I mean, of course, we can't guarantee that for everyone and every kind of product, but it just gives you a sense of the speed with which our marketplace moves. So that's kind of an overarching view of how we operate and kind of the opportunity that awaits you. But within all of that, we're really, truly intentional about our commitment to small business. Small business has been the heart and soul of our platform since day one, and it remains so. And these aren't just kind of empty platitudes. This is something that we really kind of live out loud every single day through a variety of commitments that we make, which I'll speak about in just a minute. So really we exist to, sorry about that. We exist to empower small businesses to compete globally and thrive in the digital economy. What we like to say in our parts is stay local, sell global. We, of course, have looked around and seen not just the impact of COVID-19, but over the last few years, as more and more customers have moved online, we know that's been threatening our local retail communities, and we don't want that. That may sound crazy coming from an e-commerce company, but we're also human beings. We live in communities. We want our main streets to thrive. We want those cute clothing boutiques and the bookstores and the ice cream shops and all of that great stuff that makes our communities so livable, so vibrant, so fun, and so full of opportunity for all of us. So we do what we can as an e-commerce company to help complement that work that's happening on the local level on those main streets. And we recognize that with kind of the increasing popularity of e-commerce has come an increase in options with e-commerce. So as small businesses, you've got a lot of choices, right? There's Etsy and Amazon and Walmart and Poshmark, and there's all sorts of others that are kind of new ones are popping up by the day. And we would say you should sell on every and any platform that makes sense for you and for your business. So we're not at all trying to say, I mean, of course, we would love for you to sell only on eBay, but I think that, of course, small businesses need to make money wherever they can. And it's also important to understand the differences between the e-commerce options. It's really important to kind of look under the hood and kick the tires a little bit, if you will, to understand how they operate their business, how they interact with their sellers, and what kind of supportive infrastructure and programs and policies they have in place to really help you thrive. So, with that, I just want to share a little bit about what makes eBay unique in terms of its support of small businesses and just how we can conduct our business overall. First and foremost, and I cannot say this clearly enough or enough times, we are your partner, period. We don't compete with you. We only win if and when you win as a small business seller on our platform. We don't carry any inventory of our own. We don't have distribution centers and warehouses and drones and robots and machines moving packages from one place to the other. All we do is connect our buyers and our sellers. So it behooves us to help you succeed, because if you don't succeed, we don't succeed. We're in this together, and we believe in win-wins, not zero-sum games. Secondly, reach. Like I think I mentioned before, I consider eBay kind of the world's biggest main street. It's where small businesses come to kind of conduct their business and reach customers all over the world. As I mentioned, we've got over 170 million customers. So I think hopefully all of you have lots of great foot traffic in your local brick and mortars if you have one, but you probably don't have that kind of number. So by coming onto eBay, you have access to all of these people from around the world. Flexible. This is one of my favorite aspects of the platform, in that it is really versatile. You could be, a single mom trying to kind of clean out her closet and make some extra cash. You could be a college student kind of building up your side hustle, or you could be a full-on business, even a major brand. You can come onto eBay, and we've got all the tools and resources to help you grow at your own pace, at your own terms, on your own terms. So it's a really great platform, because there are other e-commerce platforms out there that are a little more fast-paced, a little more aggressive, a little more competitive, and that's all great. If you're ready for that, absolutely go for it. But eBay is just a great option if you want to kind of start small but dream big. Next, integrity. We have a very honest, transparent, open platform. We have a lot of seller protections in place, so if things go wrong and we can help step in and protect you, we absolutely will. We've got very transparent pricing systems. There's no gotchas, there's no fine print. We've laid it out very clearly what it actually costs to sell on eBay. And those costs are actually competitive, if not lower, than a lot of our competitors. And then we have a lot of just clear policies and fair enforcement. So you're going to know the rules and how we operate. We don't have these kind of opaque systems involving kind of mediators and all the stuff that you kind of read about with other platforms. It's a very clear and open system, and everyone knows the rules of engagement. And then finally, and perhaps most importantly, we communicate and really operate as a community. Our sellers are an incredibly diverse, interesting, passionate, supportive group of people. They really help each other out, which is another really kind of distinguisher of our platform. I see so many times sellers, they get onto our online communities and they actually support each other. Even people who are selling the same products in the same categories. They trade tips, the best practices, they help each other out. It's really a beautiful thing to see, especially in these times where we kind of feel so divided. eBay is a really beautiful kind of little mini ecosystem of its own, where people kind of come together and want to see each other succeed. On top of all of that, like I mentioned earlier, we run a variety of outreach and engagement programs. So we don't just sit back and let you come to us. We actually go out into communities, and hopefully we can do that physically soon. Again, trying to figure out what it is that you need and how can we actually respond to that. And then finally, we have a really active government relations team, which does a ton of advocacy work at the local, state, and federal levels, advocating on your behalf and sometimes side by side with our small businesses, and fighting for policies that really impact your bottom lines. Things like postal reform, global trade policy, internet sales tax, all of that stuff that is impacting your businesses. So we go out there and actively try to make sure that our government leaders are hearing your voice and making sure that they bring that voice into the conversations in their respective offices and halls. Okay, moving forward, I'm going to just breeze through this. Let's see, get those graphics viewable. This is just a quick view of the impact that we've made. So as a result of all of that great stuff that I just talked about, we've been able to produce some real impact for the small businesses on our platform. One of the statistics that we quote often is that 97% of eBay businesses export, compared to only 1% of businesses nationally who aren't necessarily on eBay. So just with that alone, just think of the how much you're able to expand your audience just by coming onto eBay and getting access to those customers around the world. I'm going to skip through this because we got a lot of other stuff, but this is important stuff. I will be sharing this deck afterwards so you can kind of review this more specifically as you'd like to. So that's all the stuff that we do normally, day in and day out, and that's just kind of how we do business, right? But of course, when the pandemic struck and the crisis kind of set in, we realized that we were uniquely positioned, and I would say uniquely responsible to stand up, step up, and do something. We have an incredibly powerful platform, and we knew that we could actually deliver real relief quickly to small businesses. So we said, okay, it's not just enough to exist and to kind of do all that great stuff that we're doing behind the scenes. We actually have to go out and make sure that we are communicating the value of our platform to small businesses and making sure they're taking full advantage of the various resources and opportunities that we offer. So, I mean, luckily, this is starting to change. We're starting to see those closed signs kind of flip back to open as our states are reopening. So that's very exciting. But of course, as Patrice mentioned, the impact will be long felt by most of us, right? So what can eBay do to mitigate that impact? We started off looking at what can we do for our existing small business sellers. So we did lots of things. We deferred fees because we knew cash flow was an issue. So we said, don't worry about paying us now. Just handle your bills, handle the basics, handle the essentials, and we'll deal with that later. We also gave them free listings. So that meant paying no fees. That is free money into their pockets that they can use to take care of their families, take care of their employees, take care of what needs to be done. We also increased the listing limits. So depending on kind of where you are as a small business seller on eBay, you'll have different listing limits. And as you get more experience and build a kind of track record, that listing limit increases. But we basically kind of blew the ceiling off of that. We said, list everything you can, make as much money as you can. And then finally, we put our full marketing and PR team behind this and kind of scoured eBay for all these incredible small business stories and brought it to life through social media campaigns and videos and a variety of other assets to really kind of humanize the story of what was happening with COVID-19 in terms of small businesses and to kind of illustrate the opportunity, the possibility that exists on eBay for small business. So that was for our existing sellers, but we said, okay, what can we do for potential new sellers? We want to make sure that small businesses out there are aware of the opportunities that we offer, and how can we make it easy for them to join us and really kind of support them through, along the way. So with that, we launched an initiative called Up and Running. Make sure I'm talking the time. Okay, called Up and Running. And I'll walk through some of the benefits of that program here. So the first thing is sign up. Signing up is absolutely free and easy. I'll get to that in a moment. And the first thing you get is a free 3-month basic store subscription. So to sell on eBay as an individual or as a business, you do not need a store subscription, but they are helpful sometimes for some small businesses. They offer all sorts of benefits and discounts and perks. So depending on kind of the volume and the size of your business, they can make a real big difference in kind of the streamlining of your operations and also your bottom line. One of the most popular perks of the program is that we're not collecting any selling fees during a promotional period. So if you log on, you get your business started, you start selling stuff, we aren't collecting any fees on that. That is free money, just completely back in your pocket. But right now, the slight catch is that this is only good through the end of this promotional period. And I'm reaching all of you kind of close to that that date, which is currently June 30th. We're trying to see if we can extend that a little bit, but right now that's where it stands. So if you're interested in this program, I encourage you to sign up, get started right away so you can take advantage of this really awesome, valuable perk. The next thing, exclusive e-learning opportunities. I'm really excited about this. Some colleagues and I are building out eBay's first ever kind of digital learning platform. And that will be launching in July. And essentially what that means is that we are creating these kind of learning paths, if you will. So depending on where you are in your eBay learning journey, you'll find the path that's right for you. And we're putting together this kind of organized curriculum that'll help you kind of guide you through the process of getting up and running on eBay. So you don't have to go and search for, what do I need now? And because sometimes you don't know what you don't know, right? So we've answered all those questions for you and organized all of the learning content into these really clear paths that will make sure that you get where you need to go. Another thing is, I think it's super, super cool. I mentioned our kind of online communities a moment ago. So we have a dedicated online community just for our up and running sellers. And that community is monitored and by a team of eBay of colleagues, but also we have 4 very successful eBay sellers who are serving as mentors. So they are on that virtually 24/7, waiting for your questions, waiting to inspire and guide you in any way that you need, and just talk shop. So that's a resource that's available to you anytime and is super, super valuable. And then finally, promotional support. A big part of my daily job every day is looking for and telling stories about the small businesses on our platform. So we want to know about you. We want to tell your stories, tell about your successes, your struggles, so that the world sees what's happening on eBay and in our communities. So, actually I'm going to pause here. This is one of those video assets that I mentioned earlier that we put together to kind of promote the Up and Running program and all that it offers.
There was a day, a year ago, or 25, when you woke up and said, I'm up for this. You went from having a boss to being one. You hung your sign, opened your door, and strangers became regulars, became friends. It wasn't just a business. It was your life. And now, the door you fought so hard to open has been closed. But you've come too far to take your sign down now. Here's to not letting this be it. Here's to keeping your store open, even if your doors are closed. Here's to staying up and running.
By the way, sorry about that. All of those sellers that you saw in that video are actual real eBay sellers, many of whom I know personally. So these aren't just kind of actors or kind of stock footage. Those are real eBay sellers kind of making it happen every single day in their stores and their communities. Make sure we're good on time. Okay. So getting started is really easy. I know it's kind of daunting if you either aren't yet engaging in e-commerce or you haven't yet tried out eBay. It's kind of like, oh, do I have time? Do I have brain space for this? There's so much going on. I completely understand. But just rest assured that we do everything we can, and we'll continue to do that, to do everything we can to make the process as smooth, as easy, as streamlined, and as successful as possible for you. So essentially, there's a few easy steps. You register, you start listing, you make sales, and you ship out those items to your customers, and then you grow. So a few notes about each of those steps. Registering, it's free and it's quick. You can do it on your mobile device, you can do it on your computer, and all you need is an internet connection and some basic information to get started. Pretty simple stuff. Once you're on, you can actually customize your eBay storefront with your logo, with some imagery, with a nice description of your business, so that when our buyers find you, they could really get a sense of who you are as a brand and kind of a bit of your story. Once you're registered, it's time to start listing, of course. We make this super easy for you. There's a whole kind of listing flow, and along the way, we'll make recommendations for you. We'll give you pricing guidance so you make sure that your prices are competitive and that they're fair for you and for the buyers, and so much more. We have a really cool image cleanup feature. If you use our app, we cannot overstate the importance of really high quality photos, but I know not all of us have, a whole photo studio in kind of the back of our businesses, but we make high quality photos really easy and accessible for you with that app. And then we have a ton of different kind of promotional tools that you can use on the platform to help make sure that buyers are actually seeing your items and hopefully enticed to buy. I know for a lot of folks who aren't yet fully comfortable with e-commerce, I think what I've heard is that the most daunting part of it is the shipping. How do I ship? How do I calculate my shipping costs? How do I make sure that doesn't eat into my profit? How do I ship internationally? Like, how do I deal with delays or tracking information? It seems like a lot. And initially perhaps it is a little complicated, but the good news is that we make it super easy for you. We've got shipping calculators kind of built into the tools. All you need to do is pull out your measuring tape, measure your box, put it on a scale, give us the weight, and we can feed out to you a variety of rates across carriers. We have branded shipping supplies if you want to add that extra special touch to your packages. If you ship through eBay, we offer carrier discounts. You're actually saving money on shipping. We've got a few different global shipping services to help you make that really streamlined and simple. And then we've got protective policy. So if something happens along the way, we've got your back. Grow. So that's what we're all here to do, right? You want to grow your businesses. We have an awesome tool called Seller Hub, which each seller has access to. It's their own customized business dashboard that gives you a full at-a-glance view of all of your selling activity. It'll also give you recommendations for how to grow, how to think about your inventory. There's just a ton of information in there for you. We also, as I mentioned earlier, have store subscriptions ranging from basic to anchor and a few options in between. Once you get started, I would really recommend that you look into those. They don't make sense necessarily for all businesses, but if you have a certain volume that you're expecting to reach, one of those might make a lot of sense for you. And through subscriptions, you get enhanced branding options, discounted fees, free shipping supplies, and a whole lot more. And then finally, in order to grow, we need support, right? We need to get our questions answered. We want to connect with other sellers to kind of talk shop, figure out how they're addressing certain kind of challenges, to get tips on inventory and all that good stuff. And so whether you want to reach us via one of our customer service channels, that's available to you. You can join us at our seller events. Right now they're happening digitally, of course, but hopefully we'll segue back into actual in-person events, which we generally host around the country throughout the year, connecting sellers to our executives so they can hear firsthand what's coming up for the platform, and then you guys actually have access to them to kind of speak to some of the challenges and questions that you have. And then you can join that online community, like I mentioned, so you can connect with other sellers, you can connect with our mentors, and really get the information that you need straight from these experts. So mentioned earlier that that up and running sellers will get exclusive access to some of the learning materials that we're creating, including that digital learning kind of e-learning platform. In the meantime, we're putting together some really, really helpful step-by-step videos that anyone can access. If you go to ebay.com/up-and-running. These videos will walk you through every single step that you need to know in order to kind of get through these processes. So how do I list? How do I calculate my shipping? How do I know how to price my item? We kind of walk through all of that for you through these videos. So I definitely encourage you to check those out. And we're producing more by the day, so stay tuned. All right, and with that, just want to remind people that the web address is ebay.com/up-and-running. Currently, as I mentioned, the promotion ends June 30th. So if you're interested, don't delay. There's really no risk. There's no obligation. There's no cost. So there's nothing to lose here. Go Up and Running. That kind of explains the whole process of how you register, how you get started. And we hope you'll join us. And with that, I'm going to open the floor to questions. It looks like I've got 2 so far. From Jessica, she writes, how do you present information to business owners to convince them the time management is worth it? Typically, the response is that I don't have enough time to mess with shipping product. I totally understand that. I would say a few things to that. I would say number one, they may not have the option anymore of not making time for this. As Patrice touched on earlier before, we are in a new reality today. Pre-COVID, we already saw the kind of the slow migration online, but now that's accelerating. And I think that's going to continue for some time. So, and probably never reverse course. So it's just a matter of not finding the time, but making the time. We have a ton of resources that help businesses understand how to manage their time. We have tools that enable sellers to delegate certain listing tasks to their employees. We offer inventory management tips and quality control checks, suggestions that really help you build up those operational efficiencies that enable you to kind of get those products out the door quickly and in ways that don't interfere with kind of the overall operations of your business. So I would just say that, again, number one, you have to make time because that's just the new world that we're living in. And number two, that we offer a number of tools and tips to help folks figure out how best to manage their time, how to manage their space, how to put the right processes in place to operate their eBay business efficiently and effectively. So great question. Emily, how long will exclusive e-learning opportunities be available? Another great question. So right now, right now it's set so that if you register through June 30th, you will have access to that e-learning platform. So for a certain period of time, we're going to kind of keep it exclusive to those up and running sellers. But probably I would say within a few months from there, we will open it up to other select sellers. There's a whole kind of, this is a new endeavor for eBay. So we're kind of still figuring out kind of the full plan. But the access to the videos that we're creating, that will be open to anyone all the time, anytime. It's just that eBay Seller School, which is the name of the e-learning platform, that will be limited access for at least the first few months. What other questions do you have? And Patrice, I'm not sure if you're still with us. I know that you talk a lot to small businesses, and I'm just wondering if anything comes to mind for you of questions that you've heard from them that I might be able to speak to.
I'm still here, and that's a good thought. First of all, I really liked your response to the earlier question about not being able to find time. I think that, you know, unfortunately, this is no longer going to be a luxury or a nice thing to do. I think for many business owners, it's going to be an essential thing to do. Mm-hmm. I think I found today's PowerPoint or the presentation really helpful, and the online training tool you're offering, I was really helping to reduce barriers here, because anything you can do to just make it as simple as possible for business owners is really helpful. So my thanks to you and the eBay team for developing those.
Thank you so much. So I'm trying to think of questions that I've gotten in the past. A lot of people ask, like, well, what does it cost to sell on eBay? It's a little detailed to kind of get into it kind of in this format, but essentially we charge a few different kinds of fees. So it's important to understand that before you get started, and so you can kind of build that into your pricing and kind of your overall kind of business plan. But essentially, the two main fees are what we call insertion fees and final value fees. So all sellers get up to 50 insertion fees waived per month, right? So you could list up to 50 items at no cost. And for those items, you only pay when they actually sell. And when an item sells, we charge what's called a final value fee. And that fee depends on what the item is that you sold, what category it's in, and a few other factors. So you can imagine a fee for like a gigantic, expensive piece of commercial machinery. We're not going to charge the same rate for that as we would, a cute little Tory Burch handbag. So the final value fees range anywhere from 2% for that kind of really heavy, kind of really high value kind of industrial equipment kind of stuff, all the way to 12%. So 2 to 12%, that's generally the range. What I have seen is that's like I said earlier, at least competitive, if not better, than a lot of the other e-commerce platforms out there. And then there are other kind of bells and whistles that you can add to your listing. Like if you ever post it on Craigslist, if you want it bolded, or if you want to add extra pictures, or if you want to kind of make it more stand out more, those are optional fees that you can pay to kind of make those adjustments to your listings. But those are the two primary fees. And sorry, I didn't mention for the insertion fees, they range anywhere from 35 cents for kind of the more commonly sold items to $20 per item for those kind of like heavy machinery items, which generally they're selling less of, but they're kind of higher value items. And other than that, there's no monthly charge unless you have a Stroh subscription. Stroh subscriptions, again, are great options for businesses depending on how much volume they intend to move through eBay. And those range anywhere from, I think, around $30 or $40 a month, anywhere to up to like $300 a month. But that $300 a month, that's for the serious businesses who are moving probably millions of dollars of revenue in eBay per month. So that, of course, makes sense for them, but it wouldn't necessarily make sense for a small business getting started. But those all are kind of optional, and you can, again, try it out through this promotion and see if it's something that works for your business. And then at the end of the promotional period, you can opt out, you can upgrade, downgrade, you can do whatever you like. There's no commitment. Any other questions?
So Alexis, I'm seeing a couple of questions
yes.
here. Maybe you already addressed, but I missed. As a buyer, is there any way to know buying a small business? Great question.
Yeah, I love that question. And I don't love my answer. Yeah, I'm just seeing that there's some questions that have come through the chat. That's great. Not yet, but I assure you, we are working fast and furiously to change that. The tricky part is that we were built on the premise and with the mission to democratize commerce and to create opportunity for anybody, everybody, anywhere, right? So there is some concern that if we label some folks as small businesses and not others, we may be giving, unfair advantages to some and not the other. And so we're trying to approach this in a really equitable way. I can tell you that there are plans to develop specific shopping sites for our up and running sellers. So for example, if you go to ebay.com/Austin, that was for a program that we ran called Retail Revival, which I proudly led. That'll give you an example of the kind of merchandising and storytelling and seller features that we have in mind for the up and running sellers. So that'll be a place that shoppers can go. Those will feature sellers that have come through the program and who are verified small businesses. And so it's another incentive to kind of join the program because you're promoted through that channel. Let's see. And then I see, I'm just an individual who's hoping to learn how to sell my books on eBay. I don't have a small business, so I apologize. Oh, she left. Okay, no problem. Well, we've seen lots of people just start off as just kind of individuals selling stuff that maybe is around the house, or they have a hobby and they just kind of have fun with this, but that it can turn into a very, very successful business if you want it to. So just a little FYI on that. We're all for side hustles. Will this presentation be available on NMS website for local merchants in my community to view? NM National Main
I think that's the National Main Street Center. And Alexis, if it's okay for us to post this or post a link to it, we would love to do that. We can also push it out on our other platform, The Point, and the question.
Yep, absolutely. So we will do that. And also I can share it via email. So I'll be sending a note out to all the folks who joined us today with a few different links and other kind of resources and ideas for you. And I'll include this presentation.
Yeah.
And then how does a small brick and mortar that doesn't necessarily sell unique items compete with pricing of like items that are offered by larger entities? Yes, this is tricky. You know, my hope is that we can all turn these lemons lately into some real lemonade, in that if more and more small businesses understand that they need to go online, that means that more businesses will hopefully go online. And that hopefully will translate to a new kind of consumer understanding that they can actually have their cake and eat it too. They can have the convenience of shopping online, but have kind of that feel-good sensation of supporting a local business. I think as consumers, as community members, we've been shocked into kind of an awakening of how important our local businesses are to us. I've taken walks in downtown. I live in Austin, Texas, and actually I'm a small business owner myself in New York City. And it's a real shock to the system to walk past your favorite stores and see them boarded up or temporarily closed or have those signs in their window that just kind of break your heart. And so I'm hoping that this leads to this awakening of consumers that I have an obligation. If I want to enjoy the services and amenities and unique products of small businesses, I've got to support them. So maybe I don't feel comfortable venturing out yet. Maybe I'm concerned for my health, whatever. I want to shop online. But now with more businesses coming online, hopefully that means more people shop online for small business products, and we'll kind of see the value in that. So all I can say to you at this point is that, you know, number one, can be as competitive as you can, of course. Number two, use the opportunity that I mentioned earlier of creating that kind of branded shopping space. So when people come, they can see, oh, this is a real business. They have a brick and mortar store, or this is someone real that I can relate to. I want to support this person, because we've generally found that given the option, unless the price difference is very, very significant, we have found that generally people will go for the option of supporting that small business if they understand that that's what's happening, and if the prices are comparable and they're getting a comparable level of service. So use that opportunity to express who you are, let people know how important their service is to you, and then hopefully they'll make the right choice from there. And then again, we'll do everything that we can once all the sellers are in, and kind of promote them, to kind of aggregate them in this one kind of collective shopping experience, and really communicate the value of supporting those sellers as small business owners.
Yeah. Alexis, I agree with everything you said. And I would only add that, you know, one of the things we're doing, working with our Main Street programs, and I know there are other, you know, business improvement districts or other downtown revitalization organizations that are doing the same thing, is really working to promote the online presence of their local small businesses, to help raise the visibility of those businesses online to the local market. And, you know, I would echo what Alexis says, that I think we're in a moment where there is heightened sensitivity about the value that small business brings to our community, the way it, you know, creates a sense of place, a sense of identity, and you know, a renewed sense that, you know, it's not all about bottom dollar. This is about supporting businesses that you believe in and you care about. So I would just say, you know, certainly we hope to be, and we are supporting our Main Streets as best as we can in helping to raise the visibility of the online presence of small businesses. It's a really important line of work in the coming months and years.
Absolutely. Well put. Anything else on your minds? There's several of you still with us, so don't be shy. Don't want to keep you longer than I need to, but don't want to give anyone, don't want to cut off anyone from opportunity to speak what's on their mind. I don't have this on the slide here, but you'll see it when I email you. You can always reach out to upandrunning@ebay.com. So if other questions come up, feel free to reach out to that email address. I monitor that account, as do several of my colleagues. So you'll actually have a real human being on the other end of that. I'm eager to hear your thoughts and questions and to get back to you. Yes, so Teresa just asked, will a recording be available to listen again later? Yes, absolutely. So I will be sending you the link to that. We'll be uploading it to YouTube. Probably not today, it takes a little bit of time, but I would suspect by Monday, Tuesday, or early Tuesday at the very, very latest, we'll be sharing that recording link. Great question. Cool. Well, if that is all that's on your mind, then we can wrap early. I know you guys have busy, important lives to get back to. Again, I so appreciate you joining us today. There's a lot going on in our lives and in our world, and the fact that you took time out really means a lot to me personally. As I mentioned, I'm a small business owner myself, and I know how hard these times are. But I guess maybe I'm just an optimist, but I do believe that there are very sunny skies ahead. And eBay, me personally and eBay as a whole, we would just be so delighted to have you with us and to have you share a little bit of your dream with us and to work a little bit to help you bring it to life. All right.
Thanks, Alexis. Great to be with you.
Thank you, Patrice. Thank you, everybody, so much. I hope you have a wonderful, restful, happy weekend, and you'll hear from us soon with all of these links, recordings, all that good stuff. And do reach out, upandrunning@ebay.com if you have any questions, okay?
Great.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much. Take care and see you soon.